Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. And we are live tonight for our Sunday evening program. And tonight, we've got our special guest, Superintendent Dr. Shannon Allen of the Beaumont Independent School District. She's going to be giving us important information about the VATRE, which stands for Voters Approval Tax Rate Election. And along, we've got an extra guest, Ms. Willa Miller Lowe, who's going to be joining us also. And we're going to talk about GOTV, get out to vote. Yes, it's election season, everyone, and we are ready to get started to go vote. The early voting starts tomorrow, October the 21st, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. this week. So get out and vote early, real early. Vote and like your life depends on it. So I'm going to bring our guest, Miss Dr. Shannon. Dr. Shannon, she's going to bring us on here and give us a little bit of what's going on with the VATRE.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Renfro. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to share information about Beaumont ISD's upcoming proposition, which will be on the ballot if you early vote starting tomorrow. So just to give a little bit of background about this proposition, on August 15th at the August board meeting, our school board called for a voter approval tax rate election, which will be held on the uniform election day on November the 5th. And the reason that this election has been called is because we need additional resources to support our schools. We have not received, or Texas Public Schools have not received additional or an increase to what's called the basic allotment since 2019. And the basic allotment is the amount of money and resources that we receive for each student in average daily attendance. So currently we receive $6,160 for every student who is in average daily attendance in Beaumont ISD. Well, that number hasn't increased in the last 5 years. And we know what has happened since then. Inflation, inflation, inflation. So we have continued to try to streamline cost. We, cut costs wherever we can. The district has experienced inflation just like every other organization. And without having additional revenue, we haven't been able to give our employees and our teachers the increases that they deserve so that we can recruit and retain high quality staff. We haven't been able to do those things. We have escalated, insurance premiums. Our property insurance, has increased to over $2 million. So how do you fund these increases? How do we continue to educate our students without getting additional resources? So our board voted to move forward with the voter approval tax rate election. And one of the things that I have shared with our community is that this is not a unique scenario that Beaumont ISD is in. On the screen, those are several districts, 44 districts who successfully passed voter approval tax rate elections last year. And this is an election that is required to be held whenever the school district adopts a maintenance and operations tax rate that exceeds the amount that's allowed by the state. So we're in the process now, of course, of educating our community on this election. And I want to share some information with our community through this podcast on what will happen with the resources generated by the VATRE. So essentially, we're talking about 9 pennies, and I'll show you in just a moment where we're increasing 9 pennies and decreasing 9 pennies. But an additional 9 pennies in our maintenance and operations tax rate revenue will add an additional $13 million that we can have access to that we want to utilize in 3 key areas. Number one, we want to continue to upgrade security. Our state mandated that we place an armed security personnel at every single campus. And while we've had armed security at our high schools and middle schools, we have not had armed security at our elementary schools. They only funded it at $15,000 per campus, which is not enough to put a police officer at every school, which costs about $70,000. So we want to invest a portion of that $13 million in upgrading security. The second thing we want to invest in is increased compensation for our teachers and employees. Again, as I stated previously, we want to recruit, retain, and attract high quality teachers and instructional staff. And in a time with rising inflation costs and us not being able to give them the raises and the increases that we would like to, we want to increase compensation at an additional 3% to our employees for a total of a 5% increase. So that's the second bucket. The third bucket is program continuation. We want to be able to continue programs that we were able to implement during COVID. Our students, we're still recovering from COVID. We were able to implement several programs with ESSER money that we received from the federal government, but those funds have run out. So we've added several programs like behavior support for our students, like social services for our students, bilingual support. So instead of automatically reducing or cutting these programs at the end of the year, we want to be able to maintain those programs, and these resources would allow us to do so. So just a real quick overview of what it is that we're actually asking our voters. Our tax rate, the board approves an overall tax rate. And you see on your slide where it says property taxes, this is where our community is involved. So we receive, the school district receives money from two areas, state funding, and then of course from property taxes. Our school board sets that property tax rate. As you can see, it is set currently at 0.96491. So all of our funding for the district goes into two buckets. You see the red bucket and the blue bucket. The red bucket, interest and sinking, that's what that INS stands for. And it's about 16 pennies. And we can only utilize the money in the red bucket to pay for bonded debt. About 2008, Beaumont ISD passed a bond election of close to $400 million. So we're still paying on that bonded debt where we built new schools at that time. So we can only utilize the red bucket of our revenue to pay that bonded debt. The other bucket, the blue bucket, which is maintenance and operations, or M&O, is about 80 pennies of our overall tax rate. Those 80 pennies pay for the entire district operations: compensation, student supplies, utilities, maintenance and operations, resources, everything that we need to operate the district comes out of that blue bucket. What this election is, we're asking the voters we're decreasing pennies in that red bucket and increasing pennies in the blue bucket. So increasing the blue bucket by 9 pennies, decreasing the red bucket by the same, but lowering the overall tax rate. So essentially, we're accessing money in that red bucket. We're moving it to the blue bucket so that we can do the 3 big key areas that we're asking voters to approve. So again, doing this all without raising the tax rate. And that's a key piece that I want our community to understand. If we move pennies from the INS to the maintenance and operations, generating an additional 13 million, Mr. Renfro, we are not raising the tax rate. We're actually lowering the tax rate.
I see that.
One of the things that has continued to emerge is, well, how can we afford to do this? So if we're taking pennies out of the red bucket, if we're taking 13 million essentially out of that red bucket, is it going to hurt us in paying off that debt? It's not. Currently, we owe just under 195 million on that bonded debt. But because over the past several years, we have defeased or paid off early that debt, we've refinanced those bonds, we are in a great position that we can afford to take money out of that red bucket and still pay off our debt in a timely manner, 21 million every year, and still defease an additional 5 million or pay an additional 5 million off early. So this is the overall tax rate history for the past 7 years. So as you can see, from 2018 all the way to 2024, the tax rate has decreased by 33 cents overall for the past 7 years. If you look at this slide and you see 23 compared to 2024, the overall tax rate was 0.98641. The tax rate that we are asking voters to approve is 2 pennies less than last year at 0.96491. But what you see, if you compare 23 to 24, you see the red and the blue. Again, the red portion represents the interest in sinking, and the blue, the maintenance and operations. When you look at this slide comparing the 23 column to the 24 column, you see the blue has increased, but you also see what? The red portion has decreased, and the overall tax rate has decreased. So that's what we're asking our voters to approve. Increasing the blue portion, decreasing the red portion. If you are a homeowner, how will this impact you? Well, if you're a homeowner, just a reminder that a lower tax rate, can it impact your taxes? Absolutely. But one of the major factors that impacts how much property tax you pay is what your home is valued at. So if the value of your home is increasing, even though the tax rate is lower, you still may see an increase in your property taxes. And that's what I want to make certain is clear in our community. What you're voting for is a decrease in the rate, but the property taxes that you pay are contingent upon the rate as well as the value of your property. Okay. If you are not a homeowner, this does not impact you at all. You can still vote to support it or you can vote against it, but it does not impact you because you don't pay property taxes. So essentially, we're asking voters to make a decision. We're asking voters to, if they vote for the proposition, they are voting for an overall tax rate decrease of 2 pennies, which will give us access to an additional 13 million, which we are going to utilize in those 3 buckets: increasing compensation for our teachers and staff, continuing programs, and safety measures. If our voters vote against it, the overall tax rate is still going to decrease. However, we will not have access to that additional funding, that additional 13 million. We will not be able to increase our employee compensation. We will have to make cuts and reductions in the district, and will be limited on our safety and security upgrades. And I will immediately have to cut out about $4 million out of our budget if voters do not vote for the proposition. This is just an overall breakdown of how the money is going to be allocated: 6.6 million to increases in compensation, safety and security enhancements, about 0.2 million, facilities improvements, 2.2 million. We have older facilities in our district, and we want to invest some of that money in replacing some of the roofs that we need to replace. And then program continuation, about 4 million. So this is the ballot. This is an important piece that I want our community to understand and know what the ballot language actually looks like. So the ballot says when you go to the poll starting tomorrow, the proposition will say Proposition A, ratifying the ad valorem tax rate of 0.96491 per $100 valuation in Beaumont Independent School District for the current year, a rate that will result in an increase in 14.3% in maintenance and operations tax rate revenue for the district for the current year as compared to the preceding year, which is an additional $13,087,884. So when you listen to that proposition language, it makes you think that, oh, my taxes are automatically going up. Well, that proposition is saying and stating is that the blue portion is increasing by 14.3%. So we are going to have access to more money in our maintenance and operations tax rate revenue. But what the ballot doesn't say is that the overall tax rate is decreasing by 2 pennies. The ballot does not say that while the blue portion is increasing, we're offsetting with the reduction in the red portion of our tax rate. So we want to make certain that our community understands what this proposition is all about, what it entails, what it means to you, what the impact is if it passes, and what the impact is if it does not pass. So we have information on our website. This is just the top 10 things to remember about this upcoming voter approval tax rate election. Again, it's called Proposition A. What happens? All the information is actually on our website, Mr. Renfro. So we're encouraging individuals to go to the website. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to our website. There's a short animated video, about 1.5 minutes, that really sums it up quite succinctly on what this election is about. And we want just to make certain that our community understands what it is, because the way the proposition language is written, the proposition language is written in a way that is confusing. But essentially, when you look at that proposition is saying, Mr. Renfro, that compared to 23 to 24, the blue portion of our overall tax rate is increasing by 14.3%, and the red portion is actually decreasing. So that's what the ballot language is saying. When you compare 23 to 24, the blue portion is increasing by 14.3%, which is giving us an access to $13 million in that blue bucket. So that's what I want our community to really understand, and what we've been working really hard over the past several weeks to, educate community, to answer questions, and push information out so that our community understands what this proposition is about. So based on that presentation, any questions, Mr. Renfro, that I didn't cover that our audience might still have? Do you think there are any questions?
And let's look in the comments and see if that we have any questions on for you about the VATRE, and I don't see any. But everyone who's listening or watching, you could welcome to make a comment or ask any questions, because this is very important for the our students here in the Beaumont Independent School District. We need to approve this measure. We need to approve this measure. It is called the VATRE, and it's meaning voters approval.
Voter approval, yes.
Tax rate election. Please
but
vote
on the proposition, on the proposition on your ballot, it'll say Proposition A. It won't say VATRE, it'll say Proposition A on the ballot.
Proposition A on the ballot. Proposition A on the ballot. Vote yes. Proposition ballot on the Proposition A on the ballot. Please vote yes. We need this for our kids. Dr. Allen, thank you so much for joining us here at Knowledge is Power Podcast. We just want to keep educating our community about what is going on that's going to benefit us in this city. And we thank you so much, Dr. Shannon Allen, everyone, from Beaumont Independent, the superintendent from Beaumont Independent School District. Thank you, love.
Thank you.
Now, everyone, I've got where am I? Okay, let me cut this down a little bit. All right, here we go. Now we're with Willa Miller Lowe with the Golden Triangle Coalition of Black Democrats, and also she is pushing the GOTV, and that is go out to vote, get out to vote. How about that? Hello.
I can't hear you, Tony.
You cannot hear me. I can hear you.
I can't hear you, Tony. We must be having some technical difficulties here.
Oh, I hear you very clearly. Just start talking. Talk your mess. Go ahead. Talk.
Okay, it says you've unmuted my mic, Tony.
I can hear you.
That looks good.
I can hear you.
Okay.
So just go ahead and talk. Okay, go ahead.
I guess I'm on here to talk about the election. Tomorrow starts early voting. We want everyone to get out and cast your votes early. But now, if you can't, there are some things that's going to be happening. On Sunday, October the 27th, we're having PEWS to the polls. You can come out, cast your ballot with your church members, and get you some food after you cast your ballot. But what we want you to know most importantly is that we have a countywide race of 4 contested races. We have, of course, we got the sheriff. We got Sean Webb Locke, who's running for tax assessor collector. And we got Naomi Doe Showers, who's running for justice of the peace. And we have Ms. Addie Allen, who is a write-in candidate who's running for commissioner of I think it's precinct 1. We need everyone to get out, cast your ballots. We have been putting out push cards throughout Jefferson County, Beaumont, Port Arthur, all the outlying areas. We have been leafleting cars on this Sunday. We've hit several of the churches here in Beaumont, and we want you to know that your vote is your voice. We all have a voice, and we need you to voice your opinion. We need you to get out, and we need you to vote up and down the ballot. Don't just stop at the top with the current vice president and who's running for president. We need you to vote up and down the ticket. Now, Tony, I may be saying something I should not be saying, but I can't hear you. So if it said you unmuted me, but I still can't hear anything. All I can do is hear myself talking. What's most important is that we need you to get out, cast your vote. We have some things that are going to happen if you don't cast your vote. One of them is that your child is going to have to be able to pass the entrance exam to the military if they do not get out, if you don't get out and cast your vote. Voting starts October the 21st, which is Monday, and it runs through November the 1st. Election day is Tuesday, November the 5th. There are a number of places that you can go and cast your vote. Jefferson County Courthouse, Rogers Park, Theodore Johns Library, John Paul Davis Center, Port Arthur Library, Jefferson County Sub Courthouse in Port Arthur. I just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places that we're going to have on Sunday, October the 27th, where you can go and cast your vote, PEWS to the polls, cast your vote, and then stop, chit chat with your friends. And not only with your friends, bring some of them, but chit chat with friends who go to other churches. You'll be able to, once you cast your ballot, get your little bite to eat, chit chat with your friends and your neighbors, and let them know that you did have a voice, you have cast your ballot, and that you're going to have a say in this election that's coming up on Tuesday, November the 5th. Also, if you need to get a mail-in ballot, remember, you still have an opportunity to request a mail-in ballot. You can vote in your own home. If you have any type of disability or an illness where you can't get to the polls, remember, you still have an opportunity to request a mail-in ballot. Tony, I don't know if I missed anything. I have a whole lot more to say, but I tell you what, I can't hear you. You can hear me. You can let me know you can fill in the gap and let us know if there's anything else that we need to say. But as you can up one of the push cards that's going around, we have several. We just need you to get out and cast your ballot. And most importantly, most importantly, we don't want you to stop at the top. We need you to go all the way down the ticket. We got a number of races here in Jefferson County. Remember, your vote determines where you live, what you eat, what you make. Voting is important. Voting touches every aspect of our lives. Every aspect of our lives. Everything that we do, voting touches it. That's how important it is to get out and cast your vote. And don't stop at the top. Go all the way down to the bottom. Voice your opinion, because your opinion does matter. All right, Tony, fill in the gaps for me.
All right, thank you, Wilmetta. Hello, everyone. She's joining us from the the Golden Triangle.
Of course, I still can't hear you.
I know. I don't know what happened. Try to sign out and sign back in. How about that? And
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me on, Tony. I
That's right.
appreciate it.
All right, I appreciate you too. Well, let's get out and vote, everybody. Early voting starts tomorrow, October the 21st through November the 1st. And we need you to vote. Everyone, bring your neighbors, loved ones, family, anybody, everybody that is eligible to vote. Let's vote. We thank you, everybody, for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. We're here every Sunday at 7 p.m. right here and on all your social media platforms. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. And the next time is always good. Love you.
Thank you for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Be sure to like and subscribe to all Knowledge is Power social media pages.
I don't know what's wrong with